So I had to say to her, I really value your presence here, and I like to know when you arrive. And I also, if you go so quickly, I want to be able to share with you what I need done. So come into my office. That's completely okay. And let me know. And I said, if I can't talk to you, I'll certainly let you know. But so it's making those rules. And she said, oh, okay, now I get it. So it's making those expectations clear in a nice way.
Absolutely, yes.
But it is. Diversity comes into all kinds of styles and preferences and things like that.
Absolutely, yes. Habits, behaviors.
Exactly,
Sure.
exactly. And people have different things. I am in a job where there's constant interruption, so I could choose to come in early so I can be responsive to those interruptions. But I placed an intern at a situation where the woman really did not want to be interrupted, so we actually created time breaks where her part-time intern could ask questions, and that really helped the flow of the work, because at 1:30 and at 3 were his times to have his time to ask questions. So he would hold his questions, he would write them down for her, and then he would determine, okay, these are the right times to ask them, and it really improved their working relationship because she felt respected and he felt that his needs and questions could be met.
That's an excellent example, I think, of emotional intelligence and diversity at work.
Yeah.
The example you just gave, we may not think about it in terms of emotions, feelings, behaviors, but boy, it's all underneath there.
It is. It's
that if
absolutely.
this intern didn't know this woman didn't like being interrupted, who knows what could have happened between them in the workplace.
Exactly, exactly. It could have led to an early termination that didn't need to be. It's kind of learning people's work styles.
Exactly.
So that brings us perfectly into the don'ts. So
Okay.
let's kind of review don'ts of the workplace. What is it critical not to do? So number one is don't really think that everyone's the same.
That's right. Don't think that just because I like listening to rock music on my radio at work, everyone else likes that too.
Right.
Don't think just because I like working to 7 p.m. at night, everyone else thinks that too. Don't think just because I like everything lined up in a pile, others like that too.
Yes.
It's important to remember that the more diverse we are in the world of work, the more different styles and variety we have to be open to.
Absolutely. And we have to be respectful. I think live TV is a wonderful, fun, exciting thing. And I've invited people to be on it, and they've said, oh, my schedule is very tight. I can't do anything, blah, blah, blah. And I finally realized that some people don't want to be on live TV. It's not their thing. It's not something they'd enjoy. They'd rather kind of take off their nails than be part of a live show.
Okay. Go to
Yeah,
the dentist.
very vivid, yeah. So it's kind of...
I love my dentist.
Very good. Myself as well. So it's kind of thinking about that. Like, what do people value and how do you respect their differences?
Yes.
And so that brings us to number 2. Don't play by the golden rule.
That's a good one. And a lot of people shake their head and say, what?
Yeah,
I've
what do
been
you
taught
mean?
all my life to play by the
Yes.
golden rule. So the golden rule is treat others as you wish them to treat you.
Right.
What if I want to be treated differently than you?
Yes.
So for instance, in giving out rewards in the workplace, some people love to be rewarded publicly. Kim did a great job today, everyone. Let's give her a round of applause. Other people can't stand that.
Right.
They'd rather have their reward in a nice email, thank you
Yes.
for the good job, or in a closed door atmosphere.
Right.
So it's important not to think of what I want and therefore you must want that. But I want this, I wonder if Kim wants the same thing or something different.
Right.
And that's what we mean by don't play by the golden rule.
Right. Everyone has a different style. I worked with one woman, and she was an intern, and she would say, well, I really need positive feedback. Before you give me constructive criticism, it needs to start with a positive. Well, I was, oh, absolutely. Wouldn't every manager love to be like that? And it was, we kind of marketed her out to get a job in the competitive environment. We would talk to, whenever I gave a reference, I would explain that. And I said, some days people would be at my door and I'd say, oh, by the way, you need to do this because, you know, this, A, B, C, and D. And she'd say, Kim, and I'd say, well, excellent job thus far, but I've suggested these changes. And she had to hear that. And that was extremely important to her because it reminded her of different things in the past. So that was a critical thing I needed to learn. And then she was this tremendous employee, but if I forgot, she could gently remind me, like, start off with the positive. And I had that positive there. Just sometimes I had 3 more people and the phone ringing that I didn't always do that. But for her, that was a critical piece.
Excellent. Good.
So that is really, I think, what brings us to number 3 is don't stereotype people.
First of all, I think people have to understand what the word stereotype means. Stereotype means basically, based on experience with one person who is of a particular demographic, we assume everyone else is like him or her. So if I have a bad experience with a woman, then I'm going to assume all women are like that.
Right.
If I have bad experience with a very heavy person, then I'm going to assume all heavy people are like that.
Right.
These are stereotypes we walk around with all the times in our lives. And the biggest job we have is to recognize that we have them. We all have biases, we're human
Yes.
beings, but how do I act on them? What do I do about the fact that I have these stereotypes? And am I willing to challenge myself to look at them,
Right.
to break them?
Right. How do we break them down? A lot here at Employment for All, we talk about the stigma experienced by individuals who experience psychiatric disability. And a lot of people have a belief that people who experience mental illness don't want to work and choose not to work, which the reverse couldn't be more true. You know, the reverse couldn't be more true, is that you really need to think about, almost everyone wants to work. They want to participate in some way, but they need the right supports. And that's the motto here at Employment for All, is that everyone can be successful with the right supports. So it's reversing that belief and helping people see that, wow, everyone can work. It's just how do we support them in getting the right job match for them.
Absolutely. I think stereotypes and not looking at our stereotypes is one of the most dangerous things that we do in the workplace. And they have to be examined.
Right, because we definitely have a belief, and there are all funny jokes around them, and a grain of them can be true, but it's just realizing they're not universal, and how do we take that down? And it's getting to know people and getting beyond that.
That's right.
So that's critical. Right. Yeah. And that really goes hand in hand with number 4, don't be judgmental.
That is so tough.
That is a tough one.
We're all judgmental.
Yes, we make judgments throughout the day,
Constantly.
throughout our life.
And there's nothing wrong with that. Right. It's how we act on it. Do I judge you, Kim, because you have blonde hair, and I don't like blondes,
right.
So I'm going to make a lot of judgments about who you are because you have blonde hair.
Right.
Based on nothing except that a stereotype of who you are having blonde hair. So again, it isn't that we can't have judgments. Judgments get us through life.
Yes, if we couldn't make critical judgments, we wouldn't know whether to take a right on a red.
Right,
you know?
Or to cross the street now,
Yes.
or do I wait till the light turns green?
Exactly.
But it's looking at those judgments and understanding why I'm making a judgment about you, and is it a correct judgment or not? One that has to be checked out.
Absolutely. And it's kind of testing those. Okay, I have this assumption about this individual. Is it true? And not treating someone based on that stereotype or based on that judgment that you made, not
That's
the performance that they've done.
I think in the workplace, an excellent example of judging people is what we do sometimes to people in front line. Receptionists,
Yes.
staff assistants, those sorts of, that's their job. We judge that they can do that. They can't do other quote-unquote higher level things. And we keep them in a box.
Yes.
And what we have to do is give them opportunities to see what they can do,
Yes.
as opposed to judging what they can't do and keep them there.
Absolutely. So finding ways to help people open doors, to open possibilities, to see what they can do in jobs, and really looking at their transferable skills to say, well, what's your next step? What are you looking to do? Where's your career advancement? And we all need to, sometimes we judge ourselves and we keep ourselves in a box. Well, what other things we can do? Those are key things as people think about the workplace.
Yes.
Informational interviews can be a great way to get out of that box, talking with people about who do jobs that you're interested in to learn more about, well, maybe I could do that job. It's actually astounding how many legal secretaries become lawyers because growing up they heard the message women couldn't be lawyers, or oh, I'm not smart enough to be a lawyer, or they internalized that. Then they realized they became a legal secretary because they loved that field, and they realized, well, I could do this, I could do that, I could do that. And they become lawyers, and they're supported usually financially as well. So it's very interesting when I often have helped a lot of people become lawyers because they learn to be a legal secretary, and then they learn more and more and more skills, and then they become a lawyer. Because you can learn, you know,
Sure.
if you can type 60 words per minute, you can become a legal secretary. So if that's truly your goal, go in a different route. Don't go the traditional route. So helping people break down both the stereotypes that they have of what a lawyer is or who they are, and their judgments both imposed by others and themselves.